Hi, hello, it's Nikki and welcome to my messy bookshelves. So today I thought I would finally share my thoughts on Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is a book I read back in March, and I have been somewhat hesitant to make this video because this book is one of the masterpieces of the English language, and I thought, what could I possibly add to this conversation? But I have thought about this book, and so I finally decided that I would share my humble thoughts on this masterpiece. So starting off, I think I will read the synopsis that comes in the front of this particular version. So, considered one of the masterpieces of realist fiction, George Eliot's Middlemarch, a study of provincial life, explores a fictional 19th century Midlands town in the midst of modern changes. The proposed reform bill promises political change. The building of railroads alters both the physical and cultural landscape. New scientific approaches to medicine incite public division, and scandal lurks behind respectability. The quiet drama of ordinary lives and flawed choices plays out in the complexly portrayed central characters of the novel. The idealistic Dorothea Brooke, the ambitious Dr. Lydgate, the spendthrift Fred Vincy, and the steadfast Mary Garth. The appearance of two outsiders further disrupts the town's equilibrium. Will Ladislaw, the spirited nephew of Dorothea's husband, the Reverend Edward Casaubon, and the sinister John Raffles, who threatens to expose the hidden past of one of the town's elite. Middlemarch displays George Eliot's clear-eyed yet humane understanding of characters caught up in the mysteries unfolding of self-knowledge. I think that is fairly spot on. So we have here a book where the plot is not something that is super exciting in that there are not adventures happening. This is a book covering the simple day-to-day lives of the main characters in the story. It takes place in the 1820s in a small fictional English town in the countryside. So we are following the lives of a very rural town where we have several main families whose interactions and the choices that they make concerning marriage and other relationships play a part in how the story unfolds. So we have the Brooke family, who are arguably one of the characters. Dorothea is the niece of Mr. Brooke. So Mr. Brooke is a very ridiculous character. I would say he's a secondary character, but I include him because I found him to be very enjoyable. He's a rich gentleman who is quite ridiculous because he doesn't realize how out of touch he is. With him live his two nieces, Dorothea and Celia. Dorothea, I would argue, is the main protagonist of this book. Additionally, we have other families. We have the Garth family, of whom Mary Garth is one of the central characters in this book as well. Mary Garth happens to be someone who is very level-headed, down-to-earth, hardworking, and I think to our modern eyes, probably the most quote-unquote normal out of all of the other characters. We also have the Vincy family, Rosamond Vincy, who is very beautiful and very educated, but she is very superficial and frankly very difficult to like. We have her brother, Fred Vincy, who is somewhat lovable, but he is the typical son of a rich country gentleman in that he spends money, gambles, and doesn't know what hard work is. We also have Mr. Casaubon, who is, I think, a vicar, a clergyman of some sort, who is very rich, lives in the neighboring area, and has a lot of scholarly ambitions. So he is trying to write a book in his field. Then we have Mr. Lydgate, who is a doctor, a young doctor who moves in to the town with very modern ideas. So a very good doctor who is trying to make medical breakthroughs and treats his patients with modern methods, which today we know is wonderful for progress, but as is typical in those times, that actually turned out to be very divisive because many of the townspeople are very traditional. So against that, we have the main characters who are deciding on whom to marry. So these decisions on who they marry and why they make those decisions play into a lot of the conflicts that take place later on in the novel. Against that, we also have political upheaval. So we have an election that's taking place. We have people that are trying to make progress and push reform, and then we have the traditional side of things that are trying to keep things as they are and keep the lower classes down, essentially. We also have, besides the medical progress and the political reform, we also have, it is the Industrial Revolution. We have the railroads coming through England, and all of these things play into what is going on in the background while these characters are living their lives. So I think George Eliot did a wonderful job of bringing these characters to life. So the plot is not the most riveting plot, and yet it is, because these characters' lives, their dialogue, their thoughts, and how they interact with one another was just super fascinating to me. So I don't want to give any spoilers, so I don't want to share who marries whom, but I will share that there are marriages made and there are regrets that take place. We have some characters who are very idealistic and have very lofty ideas of what they want to do with their future. We have other characters who are just trying to survive and, you know, not starve to death. So without the characters, I don't know that I would have enjoyed this book as much, though it was fantastic. The characters, like I said, they are very three-dimensional, and they are not just characters on a page. I really enjoyed how George Eliot grew the characters. So in the beginning, there were characters that I really did not care for very much, and towards the end, they evolved, and I saw that they weren't so flat, they weren't so one-sided, and I started really being invested in what happened to these characters. Even the characters that were not so nice, I really didn't want to see them fall, and I didn't want to see them fail, so I was rooting for the characters the entire time. So I think that's a lot to be said for a book where essentially they're just living their lives. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Middlemarch. I loved it. I think it's beautiful. I love the descriptions. Eliot is a very descriptive writer, so we get descriptions on their surroundings, we get descriptions of what the people look like, we get descriptions on the everyday things that are going on in their lives. And some people are not fans of very descriptive writing, but I am, because I like to feel that I'm there, and I did. So I think it was a masterpiece, and I would highly recommend this book to anyone who is looking to read a masterpiece of a classic novel. But I thank you so much if you've stuck around to the end of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.